Spider-Man.
So, actually, how do I want to start it? Oh, I forget. You're not used to this. You're not used to just...
No, I am. It's just that you didn't get past so.
I didn't have like a complete thought before I even went. Anyway, Daredevil episode 5 and 6 have been released for 2 days now with all the crazy stuff going on with Marvel Studios, the Avengers Doomsday announcements, the set photos from Daredevil season 2, which we will briefly talk about. We're not going to show these photos because we don't want to get in trouble, but nonetheless, they're very exciting and we will talk about them. Let's go ahead and just kick this off talking about episode 5 of Daredevil Born Again, which is kind of like a lot of people suggesting it a filler episode, but I don't necessarily agree with that term. Before I get too far into it, Aiden, your thoughts on episode 5?
This was amazing. It was super fun, super enjoyable. I'm ready to dive into it.
Yeah, a lot of people, what I've seen online, are suggesting that this 5th episode is one of the episodes that were completed prior to the complete series overhaul. And if you look at it kind of without the rose tinted glasses, I guess, you can see that this is very self-contained. You know, it's kind of a one shot. Like in a comic book, you have like a 4-issue series of a certain character that goes through just a very short, brief storyline, kind of like a TV episode. And that's what this felt like to me. It's something that doesn't necessarily 100% need to be included in the show, but I'm glad it does because it kind of furthers that development of Matt delving back into Daredevil. Like, he's focused so much on being a good diffuser of conflict in this episode with those bank robbers, but he's not doing it as Daredevil. He's doing it as Matt Murdock, showing that like Matt Murdock can be a superhero too. But at the end of the day, he has to resort to the violence that we see, and it's just crazy. There's so many different things about this episode that I liked. It felt like a heist movie. I mean, it was a heist, but the pacing was really good that it kind of distracted me from the idea of it being a filler episode.
And it was fun. It gave the audience ability to see Matt in action.
Yeah.
Seeing how he could even like break into a bank if he wanted to. Get into the vault with just his abilities to hear, and then having the bank teller be like, were you even able to do that? Just street level stuff, and really making it so he's developing back into Daredevil in these little ways, and then but slowly, like people are saying, it's kind of a filler episode. I think people are using that. I don't think it should be in a bad manner. I think it's just one of those things where you're getting more time with Matt specifically in his real abilities outside of all the action.
Yeah, one thing that I've seen a couple people say, and I haven't seen much negativity around this show at all, and that's just such a blessing because we're in a time where Marvel seems to be back on the rise again, which I don't personally think it ever left. I just think the dip in quality was apparent, and it's back now. People want to see more action. I think the Netflix series kind of set the expectation of maybe not the greatest action, but every episode had some sort of Daredevil moment where he's in the mask. This series feels different in the sense that it doesn't necessarily feel like it needs that every single time. But this episode, we actually did get some action, but not in the conventional way. We saw Matt be kind of sneaky and do things without the mask, and it was kind of hard for him because if he could just have this mask on and delve back into this person who he once was and probably still is truly, this would have been over a lot quicker, but I'm glad it turned out the way it did.
Well, and I also think he gets a lot of enjoyment out of this. You can see he's like smirking at the bank robbers, and you can tell he thinks that he's a lot smarter than them. And I don't think that's in a cocky manner. I just think he knows that he has the ability to really pull one over on them and make them think that they are in charge, like that they kept saying in the episode, when that was not the case, and then be able to make a friend and almost get the bank loan out of the whole situation.
Yeah,
too.
right.
Really to show the bank teller, whatever his name was.
Yusuf Khan.
Yusuf Khan.
Yeah.
To show him like that he's a friend and not just someone that's trying to get his business. And it was nice to see that because I like how the conversations are very personal with Matt. They're not just they really expand on the relationship that Matt has with these people about
they're not
how
single
good of a
dimensional
lawyer he is, how good of a friend he is, and just the fact that Matt is just overall a good person, having to do what might other people might find as a bad thing, has become Daredevil again.
And I think that's the whole point of it is like vigilantes. I mean, this whole series is about either abandoning your past self and becoming somebody new, like a phoenix, or like whatever allegory you want it to be, or the idea that that's just not possible and what we are is set in stone. It seems like with both Matt and Fisk, and this more so in the sixth episode than the fifth one, because this fifth one was again isolated. Like you said, Matt enjoyed what he was doing. He was playing with these bank robbers and just really using them to warm himself back up again. You could tell when he was at the end of this episode flagging down the guy in, I think, the yellow mask or the red mask. He was not necessarily kicking this dude's butt immediately. I mean, he had to kind of put up a fight. Matt hasn't been in this scenario where he's had to fight often in a long time because he's put Daredevil away. But it seems like he's just fully back into it now. And that's exciting because with the sixth episode, it just ramps up to 11 with finally the introduction of Muse. But I don't want to jump too far ahead to the sixth episode.
And the only thing I want to bring up last about the episode 5 was that we get the ability to see that there is some mystery about this whole thing. Like, yes, it's just a bank heist and we're getting these street level criminals, street level problems, but there is someone that is behind all of these bank robbers telling them they need to go get this gem. First of all, what is this gem? Why do they need it? Who was the woman that was being held hostage that was actually working with the bank robbers? There's questions that we don't get that maybe we might lead into the fact that one of the crime syndicates that Fisk is trying to pay off, or that Vanessa is trying to get the other gang
The
to
money.
pay restitution for, that might play into it, but we don't know. So we're going to be able to get a little bit of that hopefully in the next couple episodes as well.
Yeah, I think that this is probably, and maybe they confirmed it, but this series has done a thing where it expects the audience to be smart and figure things out on their own. This gem was probably for Luca's gang or whoever it was to pay that restitution, the 1.8 million or whatever it was. But
2.8 million.
2.8, yes, because there's interest. But because was that at the end of this episode or was that in
I think it was
6?
at the beginning of episode 6.
Oh, okay,
It was when Luca went and met Kingpin in the town hall.
Yeah.
And he met him in that, and it was an uninvited visit.
Yeah. Before we get into episode 6, though, I think that now that I'm looking at this in terms of like where episode 5 fits in the whole story, I think again it was an episode that they had shot prior to the creative overhaul and bringing the old characters back, because this was just like it fit, but it feels forcefully fit, but it also just works because of the situation that the different gangs are in and all of that stuff. The best thing about it, in my opinion, is we finally get a wholesome MCU connection with Yusuf Khan, where it's not just like flashing in your face like, oh, look, you know who that is? That's somebody from the Marvel movies. Like, Matt actually had meaningful, good conversations with Yusuf, and like it only just enriches his character more. And Madison and I were watching it, and she still hasn't seen Miss Marvel, and I'm like, dude, you got to watch Miss Marvel. Like, it's a fun little, not sitcom, but like a fun little street level, more child friendly version of Daredevil, I guess. But seeing these characters interact that's the MCU magic that we always want. It's not necessarily shoved in our faces. It's done the right way, and again makes me want to see Miss Marvel again. I mean, we saw her in Funko Pop form, which was absolutely wild. I didn't think we'd ever see a Funko Pop in a Marvel show or movie, but here we are. We've had like Fortnite in the past, so our real world is like leaking in, which is cool, I guess.
Yeah.
But overall, I'll give this episode a like solid 7.5 to 8. I mean, it's enjoyable. I think it's one of the fastest moving episodes just because it's a bank heist and that's kind of the whole premise. But I think it was a really good idea to release this episode with episode 6.
And that's what I was going to say too. I think that because some people do see it as not moving the needle forward in the whole storyline per se, we get that second episode, which is episode 6. And in that episode, if you want to jump into that now, that was pretty heavy on moving forward Kingpin and Daredevil and taking away Matt and Fisk, like making them back into their like pinnacle characters. It really kind of brought that up. So as a standalone episode 5, like you said, was good. I don't think it would have been as well received had it not been paired with this upcoming episode.
Yeah, I totally agree. and we would have had to wait another week for episode 6. So it's like, okay, I'm glad they did it. And I have a love-hate relationship with the 2 episode a week or sometimes 3 episode a week type releases, just because it's a lot. And if I'm trying to, take my time and enjoy this, because I make videos and stuff, and like, I feel like I have to not rush through things to get videos out and do things like that. And I really enjoy talking about this kind of thing. But 2 episodes at a time, I'm like, man, I've got to sit down for the next 2 hours just to watch and pay attention and remember everything, because I don't write scripts for my videos. I'm having to like think about all of these different things that happen. And then I'm like, I'm not going to stay up till 1 a.m. to make videos because I got to be at work at 8 a.m. So I guess I'll make the videos after work. And then Marvel decides to reveal the Doomsday cast. And it's like, these episodes were fantastic. And not nobody, but I don't think as many people are talking about them because of just the even crazier Marvel news that was announced yesterday.
Yeah.
In combination with what we're going to talk about at the end of this video, the set photos from Daredevil Born Again Season 2.
Yeah, I just think it was overshadowed a little bit, and unfortunately, the 6th episode was amazing. I mean, I would give it if that episode was, or episode 5 was a 7 out of 10, I would give the episode 6 like a 9 out of 10. Like, it was amazing. There's so much we can talk about.
It might be my favorite.
It's unfortunate that things were a little overshadowed with all the other news, but I mean, it
is what it is.
We did get some
good
insane news and a 5-hour live
don't
stream,
even get me started.
So, but we can jump back into episode 6 and stay on track a little bit.
I think the first thing I want to talk about is this feels like the stepping off point. Matt is... He drops an F-bomb, and I think that was like one of the coolest things ever, just because this is a rated R show, and this feels like genuinely the first time where they're letting it actually be rated R, and not just with the profanity, but we have the full introduction of Muse here in this episode. What he does is disgusting. The blood paint, the hanging bodies. I mean, just all of these things are very grotesque. And, I'm watching this on Disney Plus. It just feels weird, but it's cool because they're not holding anything back. And this is true to the character.
And I really like that they're getting back to the essence of how brutal Daredevil actually is. Daredevil. Daredevil
That's my
is.
superhero name.
So at the end of episode 5, when he literally breaks the guy's leg and smashes his face into a bottle, like, we get to see parts of that in the first 3 seasons. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but you get a certain scene in, I think it's season 2.
No, I think it's season 1.
Where someone is so afraid to face Fisk at knowing what he's capable of that
they do something.
He kills himself, but you have to find out why. And it gives you that essence, and you're like, oh, I wonder if this is going to come back, because I feel like I've watched enough TV to be like, okay, that is one of the most crazy scenes in all of TV that I've ever seen.
It's just gruesome.
And I would love to see more of that, like, skin crawling feel from Daredevil. And now that we have Muse, like, you're getting that. You're getting to see him, like, drain people's blood and then use it as paint. And, like, now Fisk is finding out that that's what all these murals are. And it's super fun to see. I mean, it's super creative. It's super interesting. And now we have, like, this whole story with Angela kind of coming to a head.
Yeah, let's go ahead and... Are you talking about Angela in terms of Hector's daughter? Oh, that's right, because Angela's the one who got captured.
Correct,
See, what I'm saying is, like, I forgot, because even though this episode came out 2 days ago...
We watched 5 hours of Marvel yesterday.
Like sitting in chairs.
And it was just chairs. So
and it was like a text every 10 minutes.
We're a little mind numb.
Yeah, it was like every 10 minutes, yo, new chair just got released. But yeah, Angela, she's in this way more than I thought she would be. And I think that's cool, because if you're going to set her up as the next White Tiger, let's have her involved as much as possible. Let's not do the typical post-credit scene thing where it's like, oh, next time, you'll get to be White Tiger next time. Feels like she's actually fully in the plot now. Yeah. Going to visit Matt in episode 6.
Mm-hmm. At the beginning of the episode. And you kind of see where Matt's almost conflicted to, like, tell her he's Daredevil. I mean, he wants to do something so bad, but he's like, oh, well, she's just a child. She's not going to do anything. Yeah. Well, then her mom calls her.
Yeah. And
calls him and is like, Angela's not home. She never does this. And lo and behold, next scene is Muse carrying her through a subway.
Yeah. And I think immediately that is actually the final straw for Matt.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I'm not doing anything about the problems going on. I haven't been doing anything about the problems going on besides, my legal stuff. now it's my fault. Not only that Hector's dead, but now that his daughter, because I'm not out there patrolling the streets, she's in danger now.
And he even calls the cops.
And
and then hangs up.
Yeah, and then let's tie it back into what I just said at the beginning of this. Matt drops the F-bomb and just says, F it, I'm Daredevil. And that was just like such a cheesy but like yeah moment where you're just so excited because you know you're about to see him in the suit.
Well, has Matt ever cussed in any of the
I don't know.
Because he's a good Christian boy.
Yeah, I don't know.
He even earlier in the episode, he said Heather's like, "Oh, were you praying?" And he goes, "I've been getting back to it. It's something I fall back into." And then he like drops an F-bomb, and like from any other character, you'd be like, "Oh, okay." Like you've got John Bernthal saying the F word, but then
every
you've got
2 seconds.
Matt Murdock, and you're like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, because he's traditionally put together a well-spoken, a soft-spoken individual, and this is like he's realizing, being able to look at himself in a third-person point of view, like this is not working, and this is it. Likewise, we get the symmetry, the yin and yang with Fisk. Now we'll get into that in a second. First, I just want to finish talking about Matt's transition here, because that scene of him turning into Daredevil, swinging through the city with more hints of the original soundtrack, sounded so great. And it was just, I had a smile on my face the whole time. Am I upset that it took 6 episodes? Not really, because I feel like the first episode and the second episode, I feel like all of them have been well put together enough to where I'm not like, okay, like we get it. You don't want to be Daredevil anymore. We want to see, we know you're going to turn back into Daredevil. Can you get it over with already? I think it's been paced out pretty good to where now, even though it is 6 episodes in, I don't feel like it's too late. I don't feel like they dragged their feet. I think that this is happening at the perfect time. And now we can get that full Daredevil show. I mean, with both the Matt Murdock stuff and the Daredevil action stuff.
And how many episodes are we getting?
I want to say there's like 12 or 11 episodes.
So we're only halfway through the season. Like my thought was we were only getting 8 episodes. Now, at that point, if we were getting 8 episodes, I would be a little disappointed. I mean, we'd basically be 75% through the season, and we only got one scene where...
I'm going to look it up just in case we're wrong.
Yeah, and we only got one real fight scene so far, but even that was phenomenal. I mean...
There's so many...
And there's no way there's...
Where is it?
2-part...
Oh. What? How many episodes in Daredevil Born Again? La 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 la.
18.
It was originally planned for 18 episodes.
Season 1 will be 9 episodes, and season 2 will be 9 episodes.
Okay.
So 18 episodes. Okay, so we only have 3 episodes.
You know what?
Left.
I think that's close to right, because I think I'm going to be in Italy for the finale. I'm pretty sure.
You might not want to put that in the video.
No, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it says April on my birthday is the 8th episode.
Yes, then maybe that's the end. I don't know.
Well, if we're on if there is only 8 episodes, I will say I'm a little disappointed in that.
Let's see how it ends.
But here's my thing: is like I've always said that. I think I said this in the last video that we did too. Is I love Daredevil because I love Matt Murdock as a lawyer. I like how much like emphasis he puts on the way he talks to people and the way he's able to like provide a little bit of comedic relief, but also like have so many good meaningful conversations with people where he can read people just the way Fisk can, but in a different manner where he's able to get under people's skin. He's able to like influence people like he does in the courts. Like it's just so good to see him as a lawyer, aside from just how physically capable he is of kicking someone's butt. Like it's so nice to see. And
Matt doesn't even have to like use his powers to do that. He's just so good at being a lawyer.
He's got a little riz going on.
He does. He definitely does. I mean, every woman that Matt Murdock comes across is just like a home run. But talking about the flip side now, Wilson Fisk. That's the yang to this yin. I mean, Matt accepts that he is still the, quote, monster that he thought he got rid of. And likewise with Fisk. That whole scene of him going down and giving an axe to Adam to defend himself because, like, in the original show, a simple, like he says in this episode, a simple tool to help defend himself. That simple tool in the original show was the hammer that he used to help his mother. I won't spoil it, but to help his mother. But now seeing him being on the opposite side, kind of embodying his father, even though his main goal is to not be his father. and the physicality of Fisk was put on display here
Yeah.
to the fullest extent that I think was shocking, but in a good way, because one of the weirdest things that they talk about in this episode is Fisk's size. He puts on the jacket rips, and at that point I'm thinking back to the interviews that I saw Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox have with the directors, with IGN, I believe, where they talk about Fisk's transformation in this season. Something is going to happen with Fisk physically where he may be becoming the big Fisk that we see in like the comic books and across the Spider-Verse.
With the little head.
With the little head, right.
I hope so,
but
man. That'd be so funny.
At first when I heard that, I was like, I don't know if there's any credibility to this. I don't know if they're going to go goofy. But then we have this episode where Fisk puts on his jacket and it rips. He's getting larger. Now maybe this is just a thematic thing. Maybe it's more symbolic of Fisk falling back into his old ways. He's not slimming down anymore. He's becoming this big monster again. Maybe it's just that. But that in combination with like these certain tics that Fisk has been having, he's been rubbing his head. He's been doing different things to make us kind of, or hint to us that something physically is changing with him. I don't know if he's going to be taking like a super soldier serum or something like that. I think that'd be
bit by a spider.
Right. I mean, I would love to see Fisk just be huge and jacked. And they've really hinted at it in these off-screen interviews. So this might be the first step towards that. Would you like to see do you think Fisk is good where he's at right now in terms of physicality? I mean, we saw what he did with Adam, throwing him against the ceiling, the brick wall. I mean, that's prime Kingpin stuff, and he's not massive, but he's strong. Yeah,
and I think I'm glad you brought that up because I never really considered that. I did think it was a little interesting that his suit ripped after. I initially thought in the first few episodes that he looked slimmer than he did. I mean, he does as a human being, like as the actual actor, he is slimmer than he was in the previous 3 seasons.
Yes.
He's older. He'd probably gotten better shape, like whatever. But I don't know if it would make any sense really to have him have some sort of like a supernatural aspect of where he becomes this giant Hulk-like being. But at the same time, when he has the fight with David, like, I wouldn't even call that a fight. He just mauled that guy, and
is David dead? Or is
I don't think he's dead.
Not David. What's his name? Adam.
I'm sorry. Adam.
Who the hell is David?
You guys have seen it too many episodes. Okay.
Yeah.
But watching him fight Adam, I mean, he's basically like putting a tool in this guy's hand to kill him, and he can't do anything with it because one, Fisk knows that he's basically toying with this guy, and two, he throws him around like a rag doll. I mean, he could have killed him. He didn't kill him from what we understand.
I think he's still alive.
Well, I mean, he drug him into the cell. Like, that guy's donezo. But, like, at the same...
I just flicked a rubber band on accident.
But at the same time, like, I don't know. I like the theory, but I think that we need to stay a little level-headed on this because I think that if we got the comic-style Kingpin in the way he looks, I think it would do a little bit too much for the audience. Okay. I don't think that's necessary.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but
it would also be hilarious.
It would be, for one, it would be hilarious, but like it would also just be so physically imposing to be in front of Fisk. But
he's already massive.
He's already massive.
They would just make him thicker,
taller.
wider.
I don't know. He looks very tall in these recent episodes. I mean, in comparison, I mean, maybe it's just the way it's shot.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna add one more little tinfoil hat thing to this. What if that has something to do with the gem? That gem in the 5th episode that Fisk is trying to steal from the bank. The gem is very specific looking. I mean, it's like, what if it has some sort of superpowers or something? Probably doesn't. Matt leaves it with Yusuf Khan in his hands. Maybe that's just to protect it for the time being. Maybe it means absolutely nothing. But I'm just like, that's my tinfoil hat.
Do you think Yusuf Khan survives this season?
I mean, he's definitely going to survive because he's Miss Marvel's dad. He was in the Marvels.
Okay.
I don't know if he's actually even going to pop up again. Another character that does pop up that is from the MCU in this episode, in episode 6, is Swordsman from Hawkeye. Seeing him talk to Fisk at the benefit was fascinating because he is a vigilante himself, and we actually got to see him in his swordsman outfit very, very briefly on, I think, a newsreel or something in this episode. That scene where Fisk is trying to play the politic game and going around asking, he was asking for like donations?
Yeah, he was getting money for the project.
That's
because
right.
he's trying to
And
rebuild
Red
the
Hook.
port.
Yeah. Seeing Vanessa in this scene was honestly the most intriguing part for me, because she's kind of handling it on her own.
Yeah.
It's almost like she's keeping a lot of information from Wilson, maybe even testing Wilson, seeing if he's not still loyal to her, but still can do the things that made her fall in love with him. And I think, here's my theory, because we have this shot in the trailer where Vanessa and Fisk are eating dinner down in that basement where the Rabbit in a Snowstorm painting is, where Adam is locked up, and they're having a good time cheersing.
And Fisk has blood all over him.
Correct.
Yeah.
So maybe the therapy sessions that Vanessa and Fisk are going to, maybe that's Vanessa trying to, find out if Fisk actually is a changed man. And if he is a changed man, she probably doesn't want him anymore. She fell in love with a hopeless romantic, even though he's crazy, he's absolutely crazy. She fell in love with that guy. I think if Vanessa finds out that Fisk did not leave Adam alone, because Fisk has told her time and time again, I don't know where Adam is, I did not kill him, whatever. That's all, not all lies, because Adam is alive, or at least we think he is at the end of this episode. I think Vanessa secretly wants Fisk to be lying to him about that. I think she wants him to still have that burning passion for her, that he would do something drastic, like keep this man prisoner for what he did to his wife, or just out of vengeance. So I think when Vanessa finds out that Adam is being held hostage, she's going to be like, I knew you're still here. I love you. We're all good.
She's twisted, and I don't think it's nice that almost the new audience doesn't know that, because she is like, she knows what he's capable of. Not only like she took
part in it.
Yeah, and she took over his like drug ring, and which kills people and like does really bad things.
She's not a good person either.
No, and as much as like their relationship at the beginning of this season makes it seem like she is a good person, I think that's a really cool theory, because that's not something I considered prior to us having this conversation. Like, I think it would be, I mean, obviously she finds out about Adam. There's no way she doesn't find out about Adam.
There's literally trailer footage of them both in that room. Maybe it's edited, don't know, but it's probably not. She's gonna find out.
Yeah, and I mean, you knew even like the first 3 seasons that Fisk felt like that's all he cared about was Vanessa. And so for Vanessa to do this, and her saying in these therapy sessions that Wilson left her, she probably is using it as a tactic to hold something over him and see if he'll show her how much he loves her. And that love is really sad, because it's in killing. I mean, that really is what it is. We've had that throughout the first 3 seasons, and it almost makes Vanessa like excited for their relationship. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I'm interested to see if there's more to that. Maybe she kills Adam. I wouldn't be surprised.
It could totally be a test. I mean, that's something that
it feels like that.
It would feel natural too, because again, I just said this, Vanessa feels like there's something up her sleeve. It really does. Let's go ahead and shift gears now. Something that they're setting up, I think, for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is the Anti-Vigilante Task Force. This is Fisk recruiting, I guess, bad cops and good cops for this Anti-Vigilante Task Force, but I think they're naming it that because Fisk, again, just hates vigilantes, but it's because of Muse. Muse is a serial killer who, what did they say, over 60 people so far? So it's a big deal. And of course that causes Matt to become Daredevil again, as well as Angela getting captured. But I think this whole idea of the Anti-Vigilante Task Force is going to be something that isn't just for this season. I think they're setting it up to be a big mainstay in the future. I mean, they've got the Punisher-esque tattoos. Maybe this is going to be something that plays heavily into the Punisher special. I don't know. I think it's very fascinating. I think there's a character from the comic books that was introduced in that Anti-Vigilante Task Force at the end of this episode, who will probably be playing a key role moving forward. I just thought that was interesting. They set it up now because who knows what they're going to do in the next, 3 final episodes. I have a feeling we're going to see Frank get some revenge and retribution on them for being wannabes. Like, oh, you think you could be the Punisher? Yeah, right. Try.
Yeah, and they're not like innocent people, so Frank is going to have no problem taking them out.
Not at all. The I find it hard to, well, I guess I don't find it hard because they still have 3 episodes left. One of my biggest worries with all of the Disney Plus shows is like they open up so many different plot lines. Are they going to be able to tie it all up in the last episode? Like, are they going to be able to stick the landing, essentially? They haven't gone too far with this season. They've set up their pieces on the chessboard. They're playing the game. Everything is folding and fitting very nicely, and people who've seen the final episodes and have seen the first season in total are saying it just keeps getting better and better. And from what I've seen, it is. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
The payoffs are just as good as the build-ups. The build-up to Muse is paid off by Daredevil returning. I mean, we're getting so many dopamine hits and just like good things happening that we're just watching all of this happen, and we don't really have to think about, well, they could have done that better. Well, this doesn't fit in continuity. I just think this season, with everything that happened with it, from the original plot of the show to the rewrites to the creative overhaul, I think they're knocking it out of the park.
Yeah. And do you want to talk about the fight scene with Muse? I mean,
yeah,
that was super fun. I think that's a lot of what our Daredevil fans want to see, is these crazy fight scenes of how capable Matt is to really like put people away. Like, you saw a little bit in the bank heist when he's fighting the guy in the stairwell,
and with Bullseye a little bit in the first
I
episode.
mean, the fight with Muse was so cool because he's basically like hearing Angela die, same way
he heard Foggy.
What you hear with Foggy, and then at the same time he's trying to like almost captures him, but then he gets away at the end of the fight scene because he's trying to actually save Angela, and he does, which is really reassuring to know that he didn't claim another victim that quickly.
And I think he also, like, doesn't he say, "I'm here" or something at the end of it? Like, at the end of the episode, Angela says Daredevil or something, and he's like, "It's okay, I'm here."
Yeah.
That's a message to her, but that's also a message to the audience. Like, hey, I'm back, like, full time. I think that fight was my favorite fight of the show so far. I think, as you know, I had my issues with the first episode's fight with the CGI and the smoke, and like I just thought things needed to be touched up a little bit. Obviously, with all of the hype surrounding Daredevil Born Again, I expected that fight to be perfect. It was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But I think this one was better, in my opinion. The fight choreography, the way Matt's able to throw his baton off the wall, and Muse being creepy, that shot of him like flipping upside down with the camera.
Yeah. I thought he was actually like twisting, but then I realized it was just the camera
and his head was like flipping around. Super well done. They're
cool.
Involving the character's essence in the fight scenes, which I think is top notch, because you also see like him trying to finish the job on Angela while he's fighting Matt at the same time, and he gets away. I don't know if Matt's gonna be able to put a stop to Muse, because this is Muse's hideout. He obviously knows where it is now. He's probably going to tell the police where it is, and the police are going to be like, "Oh, Daredevil's back." And now that I'm thinking about that, that's probably what's going to happen. We're going to have like Daredevil out the Muse hideout and be the one who put a stop to Muse for now, even though he's missing. And I think Fisk is going to be pissed about that, because he's ran his entire campaign on no vigilantes, and now a vigilante just stopped a serial killer, not his dirty cops.
Yeah, and I also want to know, like, during the fight scene, it felt like you have Muse, who is this kid who's really not capable of amounting up to the strength that Matt has to take him out.
He holds his own.
It's really interesting to see, but at the same time, it's like, Matt, if Angela wasn't in that room, Matt would have won that fight. Like, he would have stopped Muse. So
he technically won, but he would have won a lot sooner.
Yeah, and I want to know, like, what the plan is with Muse. Are they going to make him have multiple fights with Matt? Like, what's going on? And I also want to know when we're going to get our crossover with Heather and Muse, like, because they kind of alluded to it in the first, maybe second episode, where Muse went and you get to see who the character is, and went to her book signing and talked to her for a second, and then you kind of don't really get him anymore. You just get like just Muse. So I want to know, like, where that kind of boils over, because I still think that Heather is going to be this fulcrum character where something that she does really pushes them all in a certain direction. And now the reason that I really get that emphasis, that I really want to emphasize that too, is because I can't remember which episode it happened, but she brought up to Matt in his apartment her interest in vigilantes. even saying she wanted to talk to the Punisher, even saying she wanted to talk to Daredevil.
Yeah.
You are talking to Daredevil.
Yeah,
But
right.
she doesn't know that. And so she's getting herself involved a little bit too much to where I feel like her life is going to get put on the line because Fisk is going to find out who she is, realizes she's with Matt, and uses that to his advantage, which I don't know. I feel like that's in the cards. I feel like that's something Fisk would do.
Totally. I think you're right on Heather being the centerpiece of the puzzle. The question is, does she make it out of this season alive? I don't know.
I hope so.
I think she might, but also Karen Page is returning in full for season 2, and I don't know if Matt's going to be in a love relationship with her. She kind of hinted towards it in the first episode. She's like, "You want to get out of here?" Which, hey, that could be cool. I wouldn't mind seeing Karen.
That was before Foggy died.
That was before, but also like clearly there's still maybe some unfinished romantic business between them two. But personally, I just want to see Karen end up with Frank Castle.
Yeah. I'm not too disappointed. I know I'm interrupting, but
No,
I'm not too disappointed that we don't get Karen in this season. I've said at the beginning, I'm really excited that we get to see who these new characters are. I really like Heather's character. I think that she's super enjoyable to be that pinnacle middle character for everybody, that no one really knows her involvement in each other's lives. And then we get the relationships with Angela and Fisk and
Muse.
Vanessa and Muse and like the cops, and it's really fun that we don't have just the same thing where we just have to live through Karen again. Now, do I think that it would be good for her to come back? Yes, but I'm glad they're giving new characters time.
Yeah, I think something that TV shows do that make it a great success. Game of Thrones is a great example of this. One of the reasons Game of Thrones is so good is because the audience, the viewer watching it, knows things that the characters don't. We know that Heather is the therapist for not only Fisk, not only Vanessa, not only dating Matt Murdock, but also is the therapist for the serial killer.
Potentially,
yeah. Probably. We got that slight view at it. We know all this information. None of these characters, these important key players in the story, know this information of how they're all tying together. And that makes it interesting and why we keep wanting to watch. I think it's fascinating. I think they're going to get, like what you said, I want to see more with Muse and Heather. I think that's probably going to kickstart episode 7, maybe.
Yeah,
Who knows? So. Because we could have like Muse on the run. He goes to his therapist. He's beat up. He's destroyed. She's going to be like, what happened to you? Maybe then she sees Matt all beat up and bloody. What happened to you? Slowly connecting the dots, finding out that my boyfriend might have a secret life. Yeah. Who knows?
And I don't think she's going to be okay with that, personally.
No, I think she's going to be, like you said, caught in the crossfire. And Fisk is going to use that to her, or to his and Vanessa's ultimate advantage. What happens with Muse at the end? Maybe I don't see him really surviving the end of this season.
No.
Very cool character. As of right now, I would have loved to see more of his character. We probably will. We definitely will before the season is over because he's kind of the main villain. But as far as season 2 goes, today we just got... I can't show you guys these pictures, but we got some set photos for Daredevil Born Again season 2. And my God...
We're getting the double Ds.
We're getting the... We'll leave it at that.
We can put that in, right?
We can put that in. We are getting what we wanted. And not only that, I mean, I've never seen set photos have so much aura. I mean, these look like shots from the show, but they're like clearly somebody from Getty Images just like on the side of the set shooting these pictures. And
they could literally use one of these photos
for a poster.
As a poster.
Totally, 100%.
They honestly, people might and just sell it. Like,
yeah.
Which sucks, but also like that's so cool.
But it's like at the same time, it's just so awesome.
Yeah.
I have another love-hate relationship with set photos because for one, I don't like spoiling myself. But when I see something this dang good on my timeline at like 7 a.m, I'm like, oh!
It's hard not to see it too.
Yeah,
it sucks.
It's impossible not to see it. When I'm making videos on this and my entire social media feed is Marvel, Star Wars, announcements, news, it's impossible to avoid this stuff. Would I have loved to see what I saw in these set photos when it actually came out? Yeah, 100%. I think that would have been the coolest thing. But knowing what's coming and what they're possibly and potentially cooking for season 2, oh man, it feels like this first season they're gonna get out all of the stuff that the original show had planned before the rewrites, and after this the people who brought all the old characters back, the directors, the writers, whoever was involved with the revamp. They're going to get to actually tell their own story for season 2, and it seems like they're going to have the full reins. They're going to get to do whatever they want to do, and that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Seeing this new suit in these set photos just gets me so excited to see how this first season ends. I mean, what is going to happen with these characters? We only have 3 episodes left. I'm loving this show so far. It's been such a breath of fresh air to not be worried about this anymore. I was so worried before this season came out, or the series came out, because the last thing I wanted was for the original series to be tarnished. Yeah. And it's in my eyes almost perfect. This seems like it's continuing that perfection, but it's also its own thing.
Yeah. They did such a good job with this so far. I don't think they can mess this up
Don't say that.
Season.
Don't say that.
Well, but my thing is, like, it's so good, and they're putting a new twist on it. The only problem I have with this show is, like, some of the spotty CGI. The only qualm I had with episode 6 was the scene where Matt flew in to hit
okay, yeah,
and
that was
like,
a little weird.
I was like, they don't need to be doing this much. Like, it doesn't need to have.
It's the TV. Don't worry about it.
They don't need to do this much, and he's not this, like, flying through the air character. He
is in the comics, though.
It was fun when they did it at the beginning of the season when they had him come in like he was Spider-Man. But they don't need to do all this. And I think that it might even be something like they take into account, and they'll get some feedback on it at the end of this season to stop that in the future seasons, because they have such good ability to make fight scenes. They don't need him flying in from buildings. Like, it's just not necessary. And personally, I don't think it looks good. It doesn't look good for the character to do that, because that's not who that character is.
So I'm going to, this will be like the last thing we discuss. Hot take. I think that was a hot take. Daredevil is known in the comics for being an acrobat, for being like this flippy dippy character. But the Netflix series brings this new version of the character into light, where they don't have the budget to do that kind of thing. So they have to make him more grounded. The fight scenes have to actually be real fight scenes that are choreographed with stunt doubles and everything like that, because they don't have the budget for CGI. But I think it's like the monkey's paw, where, like, you have this good thing now where, like, you can have all of this CGI. You can have Daredevil do these crazy things, but when does it get to the point where it's like, okay, that's too much? I think I agree with you, not the whole thing, but I agree with you in the sense that one scene of Daredevil flying in with Muse, I think the motion blur looked horrible.
Oh, it was terrible. That is what
it's the
I'm
motion
referring
blur,
to.
the
It's
CGI
not the
effects.
CGI that, like, they can use it. I just think that
it needs to look better.
It almost, like, I almost wanted to rewind it and be like, that just looked odd.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just because he was underground and he was, like, flying. I don't know. I just think that the CGI in the first episode, definitely a little iffy. If you're going to have Daredevil do this, maybe just do some more practical stunts. I know they did them. I saw the photos and the videos from the behind the scenes. I just think that the CGI stuff, and it's so weird because now we're in this big MCU world where magic happens, literally. I mean, this is the same Earth where Agatha happens and Wanda and gods, aliens. It's the same world. So it's not like far-fetched to say that this stuff can happen, but we're so used to seeing realistic action with Daredevil that seeing some more extreme stuff can be a little jarring at times. I think where it works the best is the actual fighting. With that fight with Muse, I thought Daredevil being a little bit more acrobatic looked fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the CGI fast-moving flight things where it's like, that looks a little cheap. It's just a minor qualm because, as we both said, we've loved this series so far. It's just something that, hey, if you're going to do these more acrobatic Daredevil stuff scenes, let's maybe polish those a little bit more. Yeah. Who knows? You know, I'm just saying that as a fan. I don't know what the budget is behind the scenes with special effects. I know these guys are probably overworked. Don't think I'm saying that this ruins the show, because it definitely doesn't at all. This is a minor qualm, and because we love this show so much already, we can complain about these tiny little nitpicks.
Yeah. I think it was well said, and I think that I'm ready to see episode 7.
I am too. Guys, thank you so much for watching this. Leave your thoughts down below. We read every single one. We most likely will respond, and we will see you all very, very soon.